Welcome everyone. Many of you have probably seen me on YouTube and other channels talking about the State Board licensing examinations, barber, cosmetology, aesthetics, nail technology. Recently I've been speaking a lot about PSI, and there's a very serious reason for this. PSI is a testing company. Now, over the last few years, especially after COVID, many states began outsourcing the test creation to PSI. In the past, the state would write the test, PSI would administer it for them. You would go to the PSI or Pearson VUE or a few other smaller companies. You go to their testing site and take the test. But in the last couple of years, PSI has begun writing the test for a lot of big states in this country. Now, a few of the states that they do, California, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Texas, many others. I single out those 5 states for one reason. The combined 5 states I just mentioned, California, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, and Texas, have a population of over 120 million people. Now, as a reference, how many people that really is? There's 234 countries in the world. Only 16 of them have a population over 120 million. Okay? That means the other, 220 have a population less than 120 million. So when PSI is writing the test for 120 million people, that's like a whole big country. Okay? For example, the country of Mexico has 120 million people. So you can say, in a sense, every year PSI fails the entire country of Mexico. That's a reference point. Now, I don't think PSI has any issue with Mexico. I just use it as an example. How many people is 120 million people taking a test designed by PSI who are not barbers, they're not cosmetologists, they're not estheticians, they're not nail technicians. You're taking a test designed by somebody who, in effect, knows absolutely nothing about your industry. Yeah? Why is this happening? Okay, there's a couple of reasons this is happening. I'm going to give you some examples right now. We're going to go over a few test questions. Number 1, I'm going to read this question to you. This is a very common question that has recently appeared. It says, lightened hair would be warm, acid, alkaline, or cool. Lightened hair would be warm, acid, alkaline, or cool. Now, I'm going to assume they're talking about you've bleached someone's hair to make it lighter, correct? Well, if you look in your textbook, in every chapter and every book under color, it shows you a 10-stage graph of the stages hair goes through to lighten it. And every one is warm, from red to orange gold to orange yellow to yellow. It's always warm. So if you checked lightened hair would be warm, that would be a correct statement. However, it also gives you the choices acid or alkaline. Well, every lightener is alkaline. Everyone whose hair has been lightened or chemically treated is now in an alkaline condition. So in truth, there's 2 correct answers. Lightened hair would be both warm and alkaline, but you don't get to choose 2 answers. You have to choose one, and you have to guess which one PSI is looking for. I don't know. And this is one of the reasons 120 million people are failing their tests. It can't be both answers. Which one should you guess? Which one of 2 correct answers does PSI want from you today? Here's another question. Okay? If your client has abrasions on their scalp, what should you do? One answer says, refer them to a physician. Another answer says, stop the service. A third answer says, ask permission to continue. And finally, an answer says, warn them, this might sting a little bit. Now, there's 2 serious choices here. Refer to a physician or stop the service. Here's the problem. This book right here says, stop the service. This book says, stop the service. But this book says, stop the service and refer to a physician. This brings up a couple of problems. Do you stop the service? Do you refer to a physician? Or do you stop the service and refer to a physician? Since when did we become nurses or nurse practitioners referring people to doctors? You might suggest a person go to a doctor, but That's not the test answer. You stop the service. Most of the books agree on that, except one book that says two things. Which book was PSI looking in when they wrote that question? I don't know, and neither do you. And this is why millions of people fail the test all the time. Now let's look at another question. Okay? One more question over here. It says, what would you do if your client, it stops right there. What would you do if your client continue with the service, give an antibacterial, stop the service, or none of the above? Well, what are we talking about? What service? It's an incomplete question. And this is the problem people are having. The question is incomplete. You weren't even sure what they were supposed to be asking you. Now, there's one more question I want to review with you. I recently purchased all the PSI study material to study myself. And I had this question. It says, in which layer of the skin do you find the hair follicles? Now, anyone who's looking in your book will know the answer is the dermis. There's the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layer. The hair follicles are found in the dermis, except it said on the PSI material, the answer was epidermis. Now, there is no book, not barber, not cosmetology, not aesthetics, not nursing, not doctor. There is no book that says it is found in the epidermis. The hair follicle is found in the dermis. But if you put that on your test, on a PSI state, you're going to get the answer wrong. So now who is writing the test questions here? Is it Milady? Is it Pivot Point? Or is it PSI? And we all know the answer is PSI. Now, if this is concerning for you, and you are right, it should be concerning for you, where are you taking the test? Are you taking the test in California, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Texas, or another 15 states, smaller states? PSI is in Fairfax, Virginia. Why is a company in Virginia writing a test for you in California or Texas, or really any place else for that matter? Okay? Ask yourself this question. Now, here comes the really, really important part. We can help you. We have this little magic book. It has every question that has appeared in the state board exam in your state. If you open the book, it gives you the question. It gives you 4 possible answer choices, just like on your exam. At the bottom of the answer choice, it tells you the page in your textbook where the question came from. It even gives you for free all the PSI questions. And a special asterisk shows you, according to PSI, this is the answer, even if your textbook says the answer is something else. So we give you all of this information. Now, I want to kind of round this up with a couple of thoughts. As I said earlier, okay, PSI is writing the test questions for about 150 million people in this country, between barber, cosmetology, aesthetics, and nail technology. Last year, in the 12 months directly preceding the filming of today's video, 250,000 students across this country took their barber or cosmetology exam. The barber pass rate across this country was 35%. The cosmetology pass rate was 55%. That gives you an average pass rate of 45%. I was not good in math. I'm not good in math now. But I know that if 45% passed, that means 55% failed. More than half the room is failing every single day. But here's the real kicker, okay? If 250,000 people took the test and more than half failed, that means about 140,000 people failed. Now, statistics show every student who fails will take the test an average of 3 times until they pass. Some people will pass the second time. Some will pass the 17th time. I had that student. 17 times. It really wasn't his fault. It was a linguistic error. He came from a foreign country. English was not his language. It doesn't make any difference. He paid 17 times. The average person will pay 3 times. Roughly $100 to the state, roughly $50 to PSI or Pearson VUE or the others. $150. Some states more, some states less. The average is $150. If you multiply $150 times 3 times, you get $450. Times about 140,000 people, you have $17 million. And this is what's happening. You are becoming the human ATM machine for Pearson VUE, PSI, and your State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology. How do you feel about being a human ATM machine? Because quite frankly, I don't feel so good about that, okay? If you want to stop being the human ATM machine, $17 million they made by failing you, okay? Here's what you do. You get off that little hamster wheel you're stuck on. You get the right material from us. Give us a call. We speak both English and Spanish. 760-534-4434. Visit our website, www.cosmetologystateboardexam.com. Get the book with every question, every answer for your state. We also do private tutoring. It's 6 classes for barbers, 7 for cosmetologists. You folks have a few more things to learn about nails in particular. Okay? It's done through your phone, either FaceTime or WhatsApp, depending on your phone. Okay? We will handhold you through this process and you will pass your test the next time. Give us a call, English or Spanish, 760-534-4434. Visit us online, www.cosmetologystateboardexam.com, and close the human ATM machine.